Welcome back to Nature's Glory Cabin Off-Road Edition. This is the second part of our YouTube follower ride. It is not 8:30, it is 8:26, Saturday 8/26/23. We're going to be on Old Fincastle this time after we leave from where we started. So here we are getting off of Ashland Camp Road. We take a left and we take a right on the 3330 after a short bit because we're going back in here to Old Fincastle. A lot of times we do Hill Creek first, but this rider had already been on Hill Creek. So after a bit, we're going to make a left here onto Old Fincastle. To the right would have been Hill Creek, where we would have come out of normally. So we'll go back here a little bit, and this little asphalt road will turn into gravel. And see the dbbb sign there as we get off of the asphalt. And now we're going to go down. It's a little rougher than you might think going down. It's not as rough as the main obstacles, but you need a little bit of clearance. I wouldn't do this in a stock vehicle. I've got a 3 1/4 inch lift and 33-inch tires. I believe he has 35-inch tires with a stock lift on his Rubicon. If you look here, we'll go down this. In a minute, we'll see some rear view to maybe give you a little perspective of what it looks like. See the hood dancing around kind of gives you a little bit of an idea as well. Some of these drops off are 8 or 10 inches on these rocks, and you'll need to pick your way through them to make sure you don't bang a differential or something. Make sure you get your left tire up on something so your differential makes it over. Your lowest point is going to be your actual housing on your differential. Now for your independent suspension guys, you'll have a skid plate that's lower. And we're going to work our way down through here. I've cut a lot of this out, made it a little shorter just for more of the exciting parts. I'd rate this about a 4 or 5, a 6 maybe, depending on your equipment. It's probably about a 4.5 for me. Depending on your equipment, your experience level, you may seem harder or easier. Fincastle's a popular one. We do it a lot. Main thing is to take your time through here and be patient and pick your way through. Again, there's a tree that had fell down at some point. These trails can change. Trees can fall, washouts can happen. We haven't had enough rain for that. Here we go. Now you get a little perspective from rear coming over some of these rocks. That rear camera is sitting on top of the rear bumper by a few inches. And you can tell that a lot of these rocks are getting close to even with it, maybe a few inches lower. This is coming down that same area that we did forward. And there's a little split in the rock, and you can see how that is as we come over it, and watch him come over it as well. When we're in the area, we can ride with people if they want to. We have a cabin that we rent when we're not using it, and we use it a lot. Nature's Glory Cabin. It's both Facebook and YouTube, same name, and a website, www.naturesglorycabin.com. It's basically a jump-off point to get to Facebook and YouTube. As you can tell, it's pretty rocky down through here. No mud in this part of the ride. There's a little mud when we get past the water crossing. I hope this gives you a little perspective of what we're looking at. You can do this in about anything with 33s and a small lift. I wouldn't do a stock vehicle. There's a pretty good sized rock we're going to need to go over that a stock vehicle probably wouldn't make it. There is a way to kind of bypass it, but you still need some clearance to get around it. And it's not the only obstacle once you get over it. It's the main obstacle, but not the only one. This is also called Hard 11 on the CAT, Kentucky Adventure Tour. Here pretty soon we'll be coming up on the high water crossing. It hasn't been real high this year. This spot here is actually a pretty good sized mud hole. If you choose to go off to the right, you'll be pretty off camber when you're left wheels fall into it, I always choose to go through it. And you can see the drop off there, how high the hood went, and we'll show that from the rear as well here in just a minute. I'm waiting a second to let Jeremy catch up. I noticed there's some mud on my lower left front wheel camera that I didn't realize. Okay, here's that drop. You can see the water level, and it drops off kind of quick on the entry side, and you get out of it pretty easy on the exit side in this particular one. Between there and the water crossing, it's relatively smooth. Once we get to the water crossing, things begin to get a little rougher. We got a few spots here, a few washouts, nothing major. Just remember to get your wheels up on top of the washouts. If it's real muddy, you may have to be careful to make sure you get out of them. It may pull you down into them. But going downhill, gravity is your friend. And you can see that little rut on the left side there at this angle. Alright, we're coming up on the water crossing. You see the little diamond there, that's the deep water hazard, that's where we're at right now. I have heard of this being over the hood before. I have never seen it that deep. I've seen it a good 3 feet. And right now it's probably 18 to 20 inches deep. You can see the left front wheel there. There'll be some different video of this. We'll have the rear camera as well, showing Jeremy coming across. Again, you can judge by how these things look whether you think you could do it or not. I would never do any of these alone, especially the first time. This particular one, I have not done alone. I think I could do it alone, but you need to make sure if you break something, there's little to no cell phone out here. So you may be walking out if you break something. I guess the little spot right here is a little flex, so you got a little left-right going on. If I had left the sound in, you'd hear this binding up springs complaining. Walker Creek comes in from the left there. There's another video coming later of Walker Creek. And here we are from the rear camera entering the water. He's got those automatic lights. They keep coming and going depending on whether we're actually in the dark shade area or hit a little sunshine. So you can see it looks fairly high at the back bumper. It's not above the back bumper by any means. I hope you like these videos. If you do, I'd appreciate a like. Share them if you want to. Subscribe if you like. I try to put out one every 7 to 10 days, depending on what I can get done. Now we come out of the water, and I think I got a little extra here coming. There's that little flexi place I was talking about. Alright, this is camcorder video. This is Jeremy coming across the water. He's on 35s, and you can see it's right up to his bumper in a couple of spots. But it's not terribly deep. It's not up to the door sills yet, probably a few inches short of that. And there's a picture sequence. My wife took pictures. I've got a few picture sequences through here as well. Now we're going to go up the hill. This hill can be more trouble depending on the weather. Lately it's been dry, so it's not quite as bad. I've been through it to where it's pretty slick. Alright, here we go. We're going to stay to the right here. Excuse me. We're going to go forward to the right. That little spot to the right, immediate right, was kind of a parking spot. And again, to the left was coming down was Walker Creek. So this is going up to the rock garden on Fincastle. And I've done other videos on this, and every time it's pretty similar, but it can be different every time as well. I kind of get hung up, nothing major. I just try not to hit things very hard. Again, the harder you hit things, the better chance you have of breaking. I do have a front locker and a rear limited slip. I don't use it all the time, but if I have the equipment, that helps save other equipment. And now we're getting to the spot that can be muddy. Again, it's dry now, and it's been dry for quite some time. It gets slick when it gets muddy, and I think I get hung up here a half a second. There's a deep rut right there. My rear end occasionally catches if I don't hit it quite fast enough. There it was right there. I'll back up a little bit and hit it just a little bit harder and skip right over it. I think there might be another spot that I do the same thing with. My 33-inch tires kind of keeps me a touch lower, and I've got a rear skid plate to protect my rear end, so I'm not too terribly worried about hitting something. Also has a pinion guard on it as well. And here's that same spot. You'll see me get hung up a little, and I'll back up, hit it again. See how deep that rut is? I don't know how good you can see that on the camera. The camera flattened things out a little bit, but you can see where I've skipped across it with my rear skid plate right there, how it's kind of flat in the middle. That's where it was hitting. And that's fairly common for me when I do something above about a 3.5. A lot of ruts in this country. And I hesitated for a moment, wait on him to catch up. Now we're heading on up the hill. Notice those automatic lights came on again. When you ride with me, I appreciate if you try to turn those things off. If you notice it kind of glares in the camera, I'll get better pictures of you when you're behind me if the lights aren't on. That was a rock shelf right there. I think I placed these a little out of sequence. I showed the rear before the front. We'll show the front coming up the hill in just a minute. Not really out of sequence, just the rear before the front. Again, make sure you know the proper etiquette. Give people plenty of room to get through an obstacle, because again, like I backed up, some people may have to back up further. So give everybody room to get through. Don't go too fast through water crossings. If you run the water up too high, it can cause you trouble in your electronics under your hood. Try to keep everybody in sight, front and rear. If you don't, if you got radios, call out. If you don't, hit a horn, get somebody's attention. Somebody should stop for you. Make sure you keep people in sight, front and rear. Alright, here's that same hill I showed from behind. Now we're finishing off going up. There's that rock I was talking about that we went over, and it's 8 or 10 inches again. Fairly common on rides 4+. Some of them even bigger. We get to the top of the hill up here, you'll see the rock face. I believe you can barely see it right there, which is the rock garden entrance, part of old Fincastle. Generally, we always sit here and wait a few minutes and go check things out, especially if nobody's been on it, and it can change. People get on here and pile up rocks occasionally. So here I'm going through it. We'll have several angles of this in a minute, and it's pretty rocky. It's got quite a few rock shelves through here, and a lot of big loose rocks. Now with mine, I have a 3¼ inch lift and 33-inch tires, and I'm short, very short, and I get over this without any trouble. And I think I've got 2 or 3, 4 inches of clearance under my belly. So as soon as I come off that, if you look up ahead there, you can see there's some bigger rocks still. Depending on your vehicle, this little Jeep, I can place my tires on top of those rocks and get right over them. I don't know which angle I took right there. Maybe we'll see it in other pictures later. But this is pretty rough right here too. There has been a rock or two I've got hung up on in the past. It has since moved and is out of the way for me. Your mileage may vary. And we're going to do this from the rear here in a minute. There, I backed up a hair. I must have got hung up on a rock. Not unusual. I like to try to take care of my equipment, not hit anything too hard. Alright, here's this from the rear camera. There's rocks we went over in the beginning. And you can see how my attitude where my nose is up a little. There's a big rock. And here in a second we're going to go up the main rock that we just went over. And you see how far my nose goes up in the air because the rear end goes down. And just the opposite is going to point up high in the sky when we get over it. And hopefully you can see the rock. It's not terribly tall, but the way it's shaped, it's hard on vehicles with longer wheelbases that don't have enough lift or tire. It's probably 14 inches tall, maybe 16. I've seen rocks, there's those rocks I usually position my wheels on. I've seen a lot of people get hung up on that rock, and I've seen a lot of people make it. You can also go across it with your passenger side tires over the rock and your driver's side tires in the little gap in between, and it's not as much trouble that way. Still not terribly easy in its natural state. I'm going to run up here and I don't know if I'm going to run all the way out and park at the moment, but we're going to video Jeremy going through, and my wife takes pictures. I have pictures at the end of me going over it because, again, I can't take my own pictures while I'm driving. And here's a picture sequence my wife took. You notice one before how the tire was stuffed up in there, and there's it's flexed out, and now we're coming over it. And here's a video of Jeremy. I'm trying to get the camcorder working correctly. He's on 35s. He's got a Rubicon. He's probably got all the lockers on, and he's going to go over it pretty easy too. Notice he's a two-door, short wheelbase. Got right over it. And here's a different angle where he's coming over the other rocks. See those rocks right there? Sometimes you'll hang a differential up on that one. Normally I try to put my driver's side tire on top of that rock. And we're coming up and out of there. If you like this stuff, I'd appreciate it if you'd let me know. Let me know what you like, don't like. And here we are climbing up after we've done the worst part of the rocks. There's still quite a few rocks here. It's still not smooth. It's rough. And you can still get hung up a little, although you usually get through this without major issues. And it smooths out. And here to the left is a great big rock, and there's lots of beautiful scenery back in here. If you have the time, kind of try to stop and enjoy the scenery. This is beautiful country back in here. And we're just going to end this here pretty soon. Everybody has seen other of my videos, and I've showed a lot of detail on how to get all the way out of here. If you need more information, just let me know. I can point you to the video, or I can give you more information. Hope everybody's enjoyed this. I think we're going to have another little sequence. My wife just keeps appearing there, doesn't she? That's the magic of photo editing. Excuse me, video editing. Whoever was behind me is in front of me again. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching.